I had just closed a $400 million acquisition when my mother called and demanded I come home. She said it was for a family anniversary, but the moment I arrived, I saw the truth. They weren't there to celebrate my success. They were after my money. And that night, I realized something I should have seen years ago. My family was my biggest enemy. Before we witness the fall of a fake dynasty, please subscribe to the channel. Comment below where you're watching from and tell me your thoughts. Have you ever had to hide your success to keep peace with toxic family? I want to hear your story. The elevator descent from the 40th floor felt like a physical transition. From the world I'd built to the world they built for me. When the doors slid open, the scent of white tea and thyme greeted me. My signature scent for the hotel brand, the one I'd spent 6 months developing. It usually centered me, a reminder of what I'd accomplished. But today, that peace shattered immediately. A commotion erupted near the concierge desk, loud and ugly. My father, Robert, stood in the center of the lobby. His face was a dangerous shade of crimson that clashed with the limestone walls. He was looming over a young man, a bellboy named Leo. I knew Leo. I'd reviewed his hiring file personally 2 months ago. Single mother, night school student, impeccable references, flawless work ethic. I don't care what your protocol is, my father barked. His voice echoed off the vaulted ceilings I'd commissioned from Italian artisans. I am the guest of honor tonight. My bags go up now, not after some tourist. Leo was trembling, his knuckles white on the handle of a luggage cart. Sir, I apologize, I was just finishing with another guest. Don't talk back to me, boy, my father snapped. He raised his hand as if to strike him. You have servant's eyes, shifty. I should have you fired on the spot. My stomach turned, bile rising in my throat. I stepped out of the elevator, my heart hammering. Dad, I called out, hurrying across the lobby. Please, let's not make a scene. My mother, Linda, appeared from behind a marble column. She looked me up and down with a critical sneer that could strip paint. There she is, she said, adjusting her diamond necklace. Diamonds I knew were rented, though she'd swear they were heirlooms. Finally decided to join us? And look at that suit. It looks like something from a discount rack, Chloe. Couldn't you try harder tonight? The $3,000 Armani suddenly felt like a costume. I bit my tongue, tasting the metallic tang of restraint. The suite is ready, I said quietly, glancing at Leo. I gave him a subtle nod of apology. He caught my eye, confusion and gratitude mixing in his expression. He hurried away with their luggage, his shoulders hunched. I watched him go, shame burning in my chest. I should have defended him. I should have said something. But I'd learned long ago that standing up to them only made things worse. The suite better be perfect, my father muttered, straightening his lapels. He carried himself with the air of unearned importance I'd grown to despise. My sister Tiffany stepped into view, not looking up from her phone. The blue light illuminated her bored expression and over-contoured cheekbones. I need good lighting for my live stream, she announced to no one in particular. My followers expect luxury, Chloe, not whatever this is. She gestured vaguely at the lobby with one manicured hand. The same lobby that had just won an Architectural Digest award for modern elegance. A lobby I had designed, I had funded, I had built. We have the Imperial Banquet Hall, reserved for the party, I reminded them. Complimentary as my gift to you. A gift? My father scoffed, his lip curling. It's the least this hotel could do, considering how much business my name brings. He had never spent a dime here, not one transaction in 5 years. I pulled up the records in my head, a habit from years of auditing. Total revenue attributed to Robert Dexler, $0.00. Come on, my mother commanded, linking arms with Tiffany. They moved toward the elevator like a two-headed monster. And Chloe, do something about the food. The appetizers last time were pedestrian. That was a Michelin star chef, Mom, I murmured, but she was already walking away. Just fix it, she threw over her shoulder. I stood alone in the middle of my own hotel. The owner treated like the help. I watched them enter the elevator, feeling the familiar weight pressing down. A memory surfaced, unbidden and unwelcome. I was 15, the night of my high school graduation. I'd been accepted to Columbia with a full scholarship. I'd rushed home to tell them, my acceptance letter clutched in my hand. My father had been sitting at the kitchen table, nursing a whiskey. His accounting firm had just gone bankrupt, the second failed business in 3 years. "Dad, I got in, full ride to Colombia." He'd looked at me with dead eyes. "Good, at least you won't be another expense I can't afford." My mother had walked past without a word. Tiffany, only 10 at the time, had hugged me. "That's amazing, Chloe. I want to be just like you when I grow up." I shook the memory away, swallowing the lump in my throat. That little girl was gone. The woman who replaced her was a stranger. But the real humiliation hadn't even started yet. An hour later, I was in the back office of the banquet hall, a small room usually reserved for catering managers and event coordinators. I was reviewing the evening's logistics on my secure tablet, ensuring the HVAC systems were optimized for the expected crowd size. The door burst open without warning. My mother marched in, holding something black and bundled in her hands. "There's been a crisis," she announced, breathless with manufactured panic. 2 of the servers called in sick. The agency sent replacements, but they're incompetent. I set the tablet down carefully, screen facing away from her. "I can call the staffing manager. We have reserves on call for situations like this." "No time," she snapped, closing the distance between us in 3 sharp steps. She thrust the bundle into my chest. It was a black apron, a standard issue server's apron, stiff with starch. "Put this on." I stared at the fabric, the rough texture against my silk blouse feeling like sandpaper, like an insult made physical. "Mom, I'm attending the party. I'm your daughter." "You're an assistant, Chloe. That's your skill set," she said. Her voice dripped with a condescension she reserved for service staff. "We need hands on the floor, someone to keep the champagne flowing. For the senator and the investors." That word again, investors. "This is an anniversary party," I said slowly, my corporate instincts kicking in. Why would there be investors at a family celebration? "Don't argue with me," she hissed, glancing at the door, as if worried someone would overhear. "This is our night, Chloe. The only way you can contribute is by serving." She leaned in and I could smell her perfume, the same sickly sweet scent she'd worn my entire childhood. It used to mean comfort. Now it made me nauseous. "It's the only way to pay us back for everything we sacrificed for you." Her eyes were hard and cold, the mask of the loving mother completely gone. "Put on the apron, Chloe." But then another memory crashed over me, this one warm and painful. I was 7 years old, my birthday. My mother had spent all afternoon baking a chocolate cake from scratch. She'd let me lick the spoon, laughing when I got frosting on my nose. "Make a wish, baby girl," she'd said, lighting the candles. When I'd blown them out, she pulled me into her lap. "Mama, this is the best cake in the whole world." She teared up, holding me tight. "If you're happy, then Mama's happy. That's all I ever want, sweetheart." Her smile had been real then, genuine, full of love. What happened to that woman? When did she disappear? My mother turned and swept out of the room now, leaving the door swinging. I stood there, gripping the black fabric until my knuckles turned white. The familiar wave of guilt tried Torise. 30 years of conditioning telling me I owed them for my existence. But beneath it, something else was stirring. A cold, hard knot of suspicion. Investors, at an anniversary party, my hotel, my resources. I looked at the apron in my hands. If they wanted me to be a server, I would serve. But first, I was going to do what I did best. I was going to verify. I tied the apron strings around my waist, the act feeling like a transformation. Not into a servant, but into an undercover operator in my own kingdom. I picked up my tablet, bypassing the event planning software. I logged directly into the hotel's financial backend, the system only I could access. My fingers flew across the screen, muscle memory from years of late-night audits. "System verify," I whispered to myself, my grandfather's words echoing. Event code 35-ANNIV-Dexler. The screen populated with internal data. The event was listed as family complimentary, 100% discount. Cost to client, $0. Status, gratis, free, my gift to them. But then I accessed the external ticketing platform, the one linked to the QR codes on the guest list invitations. My parents hadn't just invited friends and family. They had sold tickets. My blood ran cold as the page loaded. Charity Gala for the Dexler Foundation, the header read in elegant script. A foundation that didn't exist. Ticket price, $500 per person. VIP table, $5,000. I scrolled through the transaction history, my vision tunneling. The numbers tallied up like a prosecutor's evidence list. 43 individual tickets at $500 each. 8 VIP tables at $5,000 each. Total collected $82,000. And every single cent had been deposited into a private account under my father's name. Not a charity, not a foundation. A personal bank account. Fraud, I whispered to the empty room. My hands were shaking now, the tablet screen blurring. They were using my hotel, my staff, my reputation to run a scam on the very people I did business with. I checked the guest list with a sense of mounting horror. Senator Miller, the Sterling Partners, the local Chamber of Commerce, the Johnsons, who owned half of the real estate in Manhattan, people whose trust I had spent 5 years cultivating, people I needed for future deals, for expansion, for survival. My parents weren't just stealing money. They were selling my reputation, burning bridges I built with my own blood and sweat. I thought about the studio apartment I lived in for 3 years. 600 square feet, IKEA furniture I'd assembled myself. No heating in winter because I'd sent them $5,000 a month. I'd eaten 50-cent ramen for lunch, worn the same 3 suits on rotation. All so they could live in their house, keep up appearances. $300,000 over 5 years. Money I could have invested, could have used to expand faster. And now they were stealing from me again. But this time they were stealing something I couldn't replace. My credibility. A commotion outside the door yanked me from the screen. "You little thief," Tiffany's voice, shrill and theatrical. I slipped the tablet into the deep pocket of the apron and stepped into the hallway. My sister was standing over Leo, who was holding a tray of empty glasses. She had dumped the contents of her designer purse onto a side table. Lipstick, compacts, and credit cards scattered across the polished wood. "My diamond tennis bracelet is gone," she shrieked, pointing at Leo. "He was the last one in the suite. Stole it." Leo was shaking his head, his face pale, his hands raised in surrender. "Miss, I swear I didn't touch anything. I just brought the ice you requested." "Liar!" My father appeared from the banquet hall entrance. He grabbed Leo by the collar of his uniform, twisting the fabric. "I knew you were garbage the moment I saw you. Turn out your pockets." "Dad, stop," I said, stepping forward. My voice came out more authoritative than I intended. "Stay out of this, Chloe," my father snarled, not even looking at me. "This is a matter for the police. We're calling them now." "I didn't take it," Leo cried, tears of humiliation welling in his eyes. His voice cracked, and I saw his whole future collapsing in real time. I looked at Tiffany. She was holding her phone up, filming the entire scene. Her face was contorted in the mask of distress, but her eyes were checking the screen angle, making sure she was in frame. Can you believe this? She narrated to her followers in real time. "The staff here is robbing us blind. This is the Aurelia, everyone. Luxury hotel, more like luxury nightmare." I felt a cold clarity wash over me like ice water. It was the same look she'd had when we were teenagers. The same calculating expressions he'd worn when she broke our mother's favorite vase. And blamed me for it. A memory surfaced, this one soft and painful. Tiffany was 6 years old, crying in her bed from a nightmare. I was 17, home from my first semester at Columbia. I'd climbed into bed with her, holding her small, shaking body. "Shh, it's okay, I'm here. Big sister's here." "Chloe, I had a bad dream. Monsters were chasing me." "There are no monsters, Tiff. I'll always protect you." She'd wrapped her tiny arms around my neck. "I love you, Chloe. When I grow up, I want to be just like you." I'd kissed her forehead, feeling a surge of fierce protectiveness. "I'll always keep you safe, always." Now that little girl was destroying a young man's life for content, for engagement metrics, for views. I pulled out my phone, not the personal one. The secure device connected to the hotel's security grid. Access camera 4B, hallway 12. I tapped the command into the system. The footage from 10 minutes ago loads instantly on my screen. There was Tiffany, standing outside the restroom. She looked around, checking to make sure no one was watching. Then she unclasped the bracelet from her wrist. She slipped it carefully into the inner zipper pocket of her Gucci handbag, the same bag that was now empty on the table. Then she walked toward the suite, her face already arranged in distress, rehearsing her performance. She hadn't lost it. She was framing him. They were destroying a young man's life for a viral video. For sympathy, for attention, for content. I looked at my father, still shaking Leo like a rag doll. I looked at my mother, watching with a smug smile, enjoying the drama, the power, the performance. I looked at Tiffany, performing for an invisible audience of strangers. Strangers she valued more than the truth. The last thread of familial loyalty snapped. It didn't break with a bang. It broke with a whisper. A quiet, final severance. I looked at Leo, who was terrified he was about to lose everything. The job he needed to survive. His reputation, his future. Let him go, I said, my voice low and steady. Shut up, Chloe, Tiffany snapped, not even looking at me. Adults are handling this. I didn't argue, I didn't yell. I simply stepped back into the shadows of the hallway. I unlocked the tablet again, my fingers moving with surgical precision. I navigated to the event contract section, pulling up the terms. Clause 14, prohibition of commercial resale of complimentary services. Clause 8, zero tolerance for staff harassment or abuse. Clause 22, immediate revocation of discounts upon material breach. My finger hovered over the button marked revoke all privileges. I didn't press it yet. I wanted them to be on stage first. I wanted everyone to see. The banquet hall was a sea of glittering gowns and tailored tuxedos. Champagne flutes chimed together, creating a symphony of wealth. A symphony that masked the rot underneath. I moved through the crowd, the invisible servant in the black apron. My face was neutral, my movements efficient. More champagne? I asked the woman I recognized. The wife of a city councilman, dripping in pearls. Oh, thank you, dear, she said, not even looking at my face. Can you believe the Dexlers organize all this? Such generous people. I poured the vintage Dom Perignon, each bottle worth $400. Dom Perignon I had paid for. Very generous, I replied, my voice flat. I moved through the crowd, catching fragments of conversation. Robert told me this is all for the Children's Literacy Fund. I wrote a check for $5,000, tax deductible, you know. Linda said the foundation helps underprivileged kids get books. Each lie was a knife in my chest. Each defrauded guest was a bridge burning. I made my way toward the front of the room, checking my watch. 8 o'clock, time for the speeches. My father took the stage, the spotlight gleaming off his bald head. He held the microphone like a scepter, like a king addressing his subjects. Thank you all for coming tonight, he boomed. His voice filled the room, amplified and self-important. 35 years of marriage. 35 years of building a legacy together. Applause rippled through the crowd. I felt sick. He swept his hand across the room in a grand gesture. When I look at this hotel, I see the flexion of our values. Excellence, integrity, hard work. I almost laughed. Almost. He paused for effect, soaking in the attention. Many people ask me, Robert, how do you manage it all? And I tell them, it takes a strong hand, leadership, vision. Another pause, another self-satisfied smile. Even the staff here knows who runs the show. Isn't that right? He pointed to the back of the room, where servers were lined up. Then his eyes found Leo, who had been forced to stay and work. Forced to serve the people who'd just accused him of theft. You there, boy! My father called out into the microphone. The room went silent, all eyes turning to Leo. Your tie is crooked. Fix it. You're disrespecting my guests. Leo froze, his hands trembling as he reached for his collar. His face flushed with humiliation. On your knees, my father said, smiling as if it were a joke. Fix it properly. Show some respect. Some of the guests chuckled nervously, uncomfortable but complicit. Others looked away, pretending not to see. But no one moved. No one objected. Except me. I saw the moment Leo's knees began to bend. I saw the moment his dignity began to crack. And I saw Mr. Sterling, the CEO I was merging with. He was standing near the stage and he wasn't laughing. He was looking at my father with pure disgust. Then his eyes swept the room and landed on me. He recognized the woman in the server's apron. His eyes widened in shock, then narrowed in understanding. The confusion on his face was the final signal I needed. I set the champagne bottle down on a passing tray. I didn't hurry. I didn't run. I walked toward the stage with the steady, measured pace of an executioner. But I didn't make it 3 steps. The double doors at the side of the hall burst open with a bang. Henderson, my general manager, strode in. He was flanked by 2 security officers in crisp uniforms. He looked furious, his jaw set, clutching a leather portfolio. My mother hurried to intercept him, her heels clicking frantically. Henderson, what is the meaning of this interruption? Get out, my father commanded from the stage, his voice booming over the PA. I'll deal with your incompetence later. You're fired. Henderson didn't even glance at them. He walked straight past my mother as if she were invisible. He walked straight past the stage, ignoring my father's sputtering rage. He stopped directly in front of me. The room fell into a confused, electric hush. Henderson bowed his head slightly, the deferential nod given only to one person, the owner. Ma'am, he said, his voice carrying in the dead silence. We have confirmation from London. The merger is finalized and ready for your signature. London? My father asked into the microphone, his voice uncertain now. What are you talking about? I didn't authorize any merger. Henderson ignored him completely. He held out the leather portfolio, opening it to reveal a document. And my grandfather's fountain pen, resting in a velvet-lined case. And regarding the personnel issue with Mr. Leo, Henderson added quietly, security has secured the footage, all of it. I looked at Henderson, then at my parents. Their faces were twisting in slow-motion confusion and dawning horror. Thank you, Henderson, I said. My voice wasn't loud, but in the dead silence, it was deafening. I reached behind my back and untied the apron strings. The black fabric fell to the floor, pooling at my feet. It revealed the tailored Armani suit beneath, charcoal and impeccable. I picked up my grandfather's pen, feeling the familiar weight. I authorized the merger, I said, signing the document with a flourish. The pen scratched across the paper, the sound magnified in the silence. And Henderson? Yes, boss? The word boss echoed through the room like a gunshot. Your request for a raise is approved. 15%, effective immediately. Boss? My mother whispered, her face going pale. Boss? My father echoed over the PA system, his voice cracking. I turned to face the stage, meeting my father's eyes. I didn't look up at him. I looked through him. Cut his microphone, I said calmly. The audio feedback squealed, a sharp whine that made people wince. Then the room went silent as the sound system died. My father's mouth kept moving, but no sound came out. I pulled out my tablet and tapped the screen with deliberate precision. Projector override, source, admin tablet. The massive screen behind my father flickered. It had been displaying photos of their happy marriage. Staged photos, rented smiles, bought happiness. The screen went black. Then a spreadsheet appeared, crisp and damning. Columns of numbers, names of guests in the room, dollar amounts. What is this? My mother shrieked, rushing toward me. Turn it off right now. Security stepped smoothly into her path, blocking her. Gently but firmly, 2 walls of muscle and authority. This, I said, my voice projecting clearly without a microphone, is the audit trail, the evidence. I pointed to the screen and every head in the room turned. You charge these people, my guess, $500 per head. For a charity gala, for the Dexler Foundation. I paused, letting that sink in. A foundation that doesn't exist. Gasps rippled through the crowd like a wave. Senator Miller stood up, his face darkening to a dangerous red. $82,000, I continued, my voice steady. Deposited into a personal account, not a charity, fraud. And this, I swiped the screen. The video of Tiffany played on the giant screen, hiding the bracelet, looking around, slipping it into her bag, smirking at her own cleverness, then walking away to frame an innocent man. It played on a loop, undeniable and damning. Tiffany screamed, running toward the projector. She tried to cover the lens with her hands, jumping uselessly, but it was mounted 20 feet in the air. That's fake, that's edited, she's lying. No one was listening to her anymore. And finally, I said, swiping one last time. An invoice appeared on the screen. Itemized, professional, brutal. Invoice 2, Robert and Linda Dexler. Item 1, venue rental, Imperial Banquet Hall, rack rate, $45,000. Item 2, catering, beverage, staffing, $35,000. Item 3, breach of contract penalty, clause 22, $200,000. Total due $280,000. Payment due within 30 days. The number glowed on the screen like a neon sign. $280,000. The party was free, my father stammered, stepping down from the stage. His arrogance deflating like a punctured tire. You said it was complimentary. Family discount. Clause 22 of the venue contract, I recite it from memory. My voice was calm, almost kind. Any attempt to resell complimentary services for commercial profit results in immediate revocation of all discounts and the application of maximum rate penalties. I looked him in the eye for the first time in years. Really looked at him. You're not family tonight, Robert. You're a vendor who violated a contract. You can't do this, he hissed, his face twisting with rage and desperation. I'm your father. And I'm the owner of this hotel, I replied. My voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. I'm the one who paid off your mortgage 5 years ago. $300,000 sent from my studio apartment. I'm the one who covered Tiffany's rehab bills when she wouldn't admit she had a problem. I'm the one who kept you afloat while you told everyone I was a failure. My mother's face crumpled. Chloe, you don't understand. I understand perfectly, I said. I signaled to Henderson, who nodded. 2 uniformed police officers stepped through the doors. I turned to Senator Miller, who was still standing. Senator, I believe you have grounds to file a complaint regarding the solicitation of fraudulent charitable donations. The senator adjusted his jacket, his face like carved stone. I believe I do, Miss Dexler. Thank you for bringing this to light. Officers, I said, turning to the police. Please escort these trespassers off the property. Trespassers? My mother wailed as the officers approached. We're the Dexlers. We're her family. I remembered her voice from that 7th birthday. If you're happy, Mama's happy. When had that woman died? Or had she ever really existed? Not anymore, I said, turning my back on them. On all of them. On 30 years of humiliation. Now you're just bad for business. The officers moved in, professional and efficient. My father tried to pull away, shouting threats about lawyers. My mother sobbed, reaching for me with grasping hands. Tiffany filmed the whole thing, even as they were escorted out. Still performing, still trying to control the narrative. I stood in the center of the silent ballroom. Every guest staring at me. Some with shock, some with respect, some with pity. I didn't care anymore what they thought. I picked up my grandfather's pen and held it like a talisman. Ladies and gentlemen, I said, my voice filling the room. I apologize for the disruption. The Aurelia does not tolerate fraud. Your donations tonight were solicited under false pretenses. Full refunds will be issued by end of business Monday. And in lieu of the fake charity, I am establishing a real one. The Leo Martinez Hospitality Scholarship Fund. For students pursuing careers in hotel management. I looked at Leo, still standing at the back of the room. His eyes were wet, but he was standing tall now. Your first semester is fully funded, Leo. You start next month. The room erupted in applause. Not for my parents, for truth, for justice, for a young man who'd almost lost everything. I walked out of that ballroom with my head high. The server's apron still lay on the floor behind me. I would never pick it up again. The fallout was exactly as messy as I had calculated, but I watched it unfold from behind the bulletproof glass of my office. I was 40 stories up, untouchable. The next morning, Tiffany posted a tearful video on TikTok. She'd used a filter that made her eyes look bigger and more innocent. My sister is a monster, she sobbed, her voice breaking perfectly on cue. She kicked her own parents out on the street over a misunderstanding. She's power hungry. She abused us our whole lives. She made us feel small so she could feel big. The video got 50,000 likes in the first hour. The comments were brutal, a tsunami of hatred. What kind of daughter does this to her family? Elder abuse, someone call the authorities. Boycott the Aurelia, this woman is heartless. My PR director, Sophia, paced around my desk like a caged animal. Chloe, the comments are brutal. They're calling for a boycott. The hashtag #CancelChloe is trending. They're saying you're an elder abuser. I sipped my espresso, the bitter taste grounding me. Let them talk. Are the legal packets ready? Ready and filed with the courts. But are you sure about releasing everything? It's nuclear, Chloe. There's no coming back from this. There was no coming back the moment they sold tickets to my guests. I set down my cup with a soft click. Release them. All of it. Sophia nodded, her fingers flying across her laptop. We didn't argue with Tiffany in the comments section. We didn't issue a defensive statement or beg for understanding. We argued in the court of public opinion with something more powerful than tears. Evidence. At noon, we released the Dexter files. It wasn't a press release. It wasn't a statement. It was a comprehensive data dump, a digital autopsy. Exhibit A, 10 years of bank transfer records, showing $300,000 sent from my personal account to theirs, while I lived in a studio apartment with secondhand furniture. Each transfer labeled rent UPC, medical, emergency. Exhibit B, email exchanges between my father and his friends. These idiots will pay anything if you slap charity on it. Linda and I are going to clean up tonight. Easiest money we've ever made. The hotel is free because my pathetic daughter is desperate for approval. Exhibit C, the unedited security footage. My father forcing Leo to his knees. The timestamp, the audio, the cruelty in high definition. Exhibit D, the video of Tiffany hiding the bracelet. Slowed down, enhanced. Titled, Undeniable. Exhibit E, the fraudulent ticket sales records. Every transaction, every lie, every stolen dollar. The internet didn't just turn, it snapped. Within 2 hours, Tiffany's comment section became a war zone. You framed an innocent kid for content? You're disgusting. Justice for Leo. This family is trash. I'm so sorry, Chloe. You deserved better. This isn't elder abuse, this is self-defense. By noon, Justice for Leo was trending on Twitter. By evening, the local news had picked up the story. Fake charity scam at luxury hotel, family betrayal, or business savvy? The narrative shifted like tectonic plates. From cruel daughter destroys family to silent owner strikes back. My phone rang, my mother. I let it go to voicemail, watching the screen light up and die. Then my father. Voicemail. Then a text from Tiffany. Please, Chloe, I'm losing sponsors. Take it down, I'll apologize. I stared at the message for a long moment. I thought about the 6-year-old girl who'd clung to me after a nightmare. I love you, Chloe. I want to be just like you. Then I thought about the woman who'd framed Leo for views. I deleted the thread without responding. Another text appeared, this one from my mother. We have nowhere to go. We're your parents. You owe us. I thought about the 7-year-old me holding a perfect test, waiting for approval that never came. I thought about the 9-year-old me, folding that test into nothing. I blocked the number. I walked over to the window, looking down at the city lights. 40 stories of glass and steel between me and them. I had spent my whole life trying to buy their love, trying to earn a seat at their table with money and success. I realized now that the table was rotten, and the food was poisoned. My phone buzzed one more time. A text from Leo. Thank you, Miss Dexler, you changed my life. I smiled, a real smile this time. The silence in my office wasn't lonely anymore. It was peaceful. It was the sound of a debt paid in full. It was freedom. 6 months later, the autumn air was crisp on the rooftop terrace of the Aurelia. I stood at the railing, holding a glass of champagne. But this time, I wasn't serving it. The wind whipped through my hair, but I felt grounded and solid. Below me, the city hummed with life and possibility. Miss Dexler? I turned to see Leo approaching. He looked different now, taller somehow, more confident. He was wearing a tailored suit, charcoal gray, not a uniform. The guests are seated for the scholarship lunch, he said, smiling. Thank you, Leo. Are you ready for your speech? He touched the lapel of his jacket, a nervous gesture. I still can't believe it, the Aurelia Management Scholarship. It changes everything for my mom and me. I start at Cornell in January. You earned it, I said firmly. Service isn't about servitude, Leo. It's about excellence. You always knew the difference. Even when I was on my knees? He asked quietly, his eyes searching mine. Especially Ven, I answered. You kept your dignity when they tried to take it. That's leadership. He smiled, a genuine smile that reached his eyes. We should go in. Henderson is waiting, and he hates starting late. Go ahead, I said. I'll be right there. He walked back toward the terrace doors, his future bright and unwritten. I stayed for a moment longer, looking at the horizon. My parents had lost the house. The lawsuits from the defrauded gas had taken everything. Their cars, their savings, their carefully constructed facade. They were living in a small apartment in Jersey now, blaming me, blaming the world, blaming everyone but themselves. My mother had sent one last letter 3 weeks ago. It was sitting in my desk drawer unopened. I looked at it every day, wondering if I should read it, wondering if there was an apology inside or just more demands. This morning, I'd finally made my decision. I fed it into the shredder without breaking the seal. I didn't need to know what it said. I knew who I was now, and their words couldn't change that anymore. I took a sip of champagne, the bubbles crisp and bright on my tongue. I placed my hand on the stone railing, feeling the solid weight of my empire. The hotel I'd built, the reputation I'd earned, the future I'd secured. My phone buzzed with a notification. The merger with Sterling International had just cleared final regulatory approval. The Aurelia was now part of a global luxury brand. My net worth had just tripled. I thought about my grandfather, his hand shaking as he gave me that pen. Verify, then trust. I'd verified. I'd found the truth. And I'd learned that some people aren't worth trusting, even if they're family. Especially if they're family. I wasn't the assistant anymore. I wasn't the disappointment. I wasn't the servant in the black apron. I was the owner. And I was done being silent. If you enjoyed this story of reclaiming your power, please hit that like button and subscribe. I want to know, if you were in my shoes, would you have forgiven them? Or was the invoice the right move? Have you ever had to cut off family to protect yourself? Tell me your story in the comments below. See you in the next video.